Something's been quietly disappearing from Glock's catalog. Not just a few models, whole calibers, entire variants, gone. 357 SIG, vanished. 45 gap, scrubbed clean. Even some Gen 5s and MOS slides wiped like they never existed. And if you think this is just Glock doing spring cleaning, think again, because right behind those vanishing SKUs, a stack of new patents showing modular grip systems, drop-in triggers that doesn't even need a trigger pull. That's not an update, that's a redesign. And when Glock redesigns something, it means one thing: a new generation. Some shooters are excited, some are ready to riot, and the reason's simple. What's coming in Gen 6 will split the Glock crowd. So what's really going on behind those Austrian factory doors, and why does it feel like Glock's next move could rewrite the playbook? If you've checked Glock's distributor sheet just a few months ago, you'd notice something strange. Page after page of familiar models suddenly gone. No announcement, no slow phase out, just lines of discontinued Gen 4s, Gen 5s, and even MOS optics ready models getting the axe. The 357 SIG trio, history. The 45 gap family, wiped clean. And the Glock 22, it lost more sub-models than some brands even offer. At first, people assumed it was the usual cleanup, cutting unpopular calibers, trimming the fat, but it didn't stop, it accelerated. More Gen 5 variants vanished, optics models disappeared, even staple full-size pistols were marked discontinued. That's when the real speculation started. Why should Glock shrink their catalog this drastically unless something big was on deck? Because here's the thing, Glock doesn't idle production lines for no reason. If they're cleaning this much manufacturing space, it's not for another Gen 5 refresh, it's prep work. And when you look at why they filed with the US Patent Office right after these models vanished, the message is loud and clear. They're rebuilding something new, something different, something they haven't built before. A patent don't say Gen 6 in bold letters, but they don't have to. Between 2020 and 2025, Glock submitted a wave of patent filings, and the details inside, they're unlike anything we've seen from the brand in 4 decades. We're talking modular frames, split into upper and lower grip sections, not just cosmetic panels, but actual swappable grip modules that change the gun's footprint without affecting the serialized core. We're talking drop-in trigger units, complete assemblies you can swap out with a single pin. No need to mess with springs or tiny parts. Want a competition pull one day and stock feel the next? Done in seconds. And we're talking a completely reworked takedown system. No trigger press required. That's not just a convenience feature, that's a safety overhaul. This isn't about another grip texture or slide serration. It's not about shaving ounces or adding slide cuts. It's a structural shift in how a Glock pistol is designed, carried, cleaned, and upgraded from the inside out. Let's start with that modular grip system. According to the patent, the frame is split into 2 halves, an upper section that houses the serialized fire control and slide guide, and a lower shell that forms the grip. The result? You buy one serialized Glock and you can snap on a compact grip for carry, a full size for duty, or even a flare grip for competition. No need to buy multiple guns, no need to mess with fitment. It's the same core pistol with swappable personalities. It's not quite the full fire control unit like the SIG P320, but it gets close. And if Glock pulls it off the right way, with tight tolerance and robust locking tabs, it could open up a whole new world of factory and aftermarket customization. It's like modular backstraps but leveled up. With the real sleeper upgrade, that drop-in trigger unit. Patent number 122-15944 outlines a full trigger assembly, housing, spring, and all, and slides into a standard pocket inside the frame. One pin holds it in place. No more chasing springs across the bench. No more tuning sear angles with a Dremel. You want a 3-pound flat face competition trigger? Drop it in. Done. You want to switch back to stock for carry duty? Pop the pin, swap, and you're ready. This alone could be a game changer, not just for shooters, but for the Glocks themselves. Imagine Glock performance models with tuned factory triggers that compete right out of the box. It's not just convenient, it's smart business. Now, there's one feature in particular that's already triggering some serious debate: the new takedown system. Any Glock owner knows field stripping the gun means pulling the trigger. It's part of the ritual. Check. Clear, aim at a safe direction, pull the trigger, and then disassemble. And that single step, pulling the trigger, has caused countless negligent discharges over the years when folks skip or rush the safety check. One mistake, one oversight, and you've got a hole in your floor, or worse. Glock's latest patent changes all that. Instead of a trigger press, the new system uses a locking lever that decouples the striker, letting you remove the slide without ever touching the trigger shoe. It's clean, it's controlled, most importantly, it's intentional. To casual shooters, that means safer cleaning and less room for error. To law enforcement agencies, it removes a liability from the training manual. California's famously strict handgun roster, it makes Glock just a bit more viable for approval, especially in departments where drop safety and takedown methods are under a microscope. Some purists argue that if you can't clear a chamber properly, you shouldn't own a gun. Fair enough, but others point out, why not fix the most common human error if the fix doesn't hurt the gun? That's what matters. Glock didn't add complexity, they just removed a risk. If they've done it without affecting reliability, then it's a win. Plain and simple. Here's where things really heat up. Optics. Glock's old MOS system worked, but just barely. It used adapter plates that sat too high, limited your sight options, and relied on tiny screws that had a bad habit of walking loose under recoil. For years, shooters had to lock tight their setups or constantly check torque. It wasn't refined, it was a workaround. But now, Glock's recent patent shows something very different. A direct mount optic system, like built around Aimpoint's COA footprint, complete with integrated recoil bosses and aligned posts machined right into the slide. This isn't an afterthought, it's built for durability. No adapter plates, no extra torque settings to memorize, just mount your red dot and go. That means a lower profile, better co-witnessing with irons, and improved reliability. It's cleaner, tougher, and more practical for both defensive carry and duty use. It's what Glock should have done years ago, and now it looks like they're not only fixing the mistake, but backing it in as standard. And when you stack that on top of the new frame architect, modular grip shells, and a drop-in trigger system, we're not talking about a Gen 5.5 or some cosmetic update. We're talking about an entirely new platform, one that could redefine what a Glock is and how it's used in the modern world. Now, here's where the community starts to split. Because not everyone's cheering. Some shooters, they're ready to pre-order 2 on day 1. They've been waiting for years for Glock to step into the modern age. Modularity, direct mount optics, and upgraded internal straight from the factory. For them, Gen 6 feels like a long overdue answer to what competitors have been doing. But others, they're gripping their Gen 3s like scared relics, and you can't blame them. Why? Because Glock's whole reputation was built on simplicity. One solid frame, one trigger, no frills, no batteries, just a gun that runs forever, no matter what. They don't want a modular grip with seams or parts that could wiggle loose after a few thousand rounds. They don't want new internals they can't service in their garage. And they definitely don't want anything involving electronics anywhere near their self-defense pistol. And that's where things get really tense, because one of Glock's patents, that includes a battery compartment built into the grip module. On paper, it's meant to power things like integrated weapon lights or maybe round counters, but to many, it sounds like a foot in the door for smart gun tech. Features like fingerprint safeties or wireless access restrictions. That scares a lot of shooters. To them, that moment you rely on software sensors or circuits, you've added one more point of failure in a life or death tool, and they're not wrong to be cautious. To be clear, Glock hasn't said a word about smart integrations. The documents only mention optional power contacts, but timing is everything. In a world where legislators are pushing smart mandates, the optics of including a battery tray, even if it's just for a light, make people nervous. And that fear, it's valid. No shooters wants a defensive tool that says, please wait, rebooting. So while Glock might just be planning for accessory power, the community isn't convinced, and that suspicion is fueling the fire. And now comes the practical question. How much will it cost? Let's be real, this isn't a cheap refresh. New frame architecture, new optic cuts, more complex internals, that all adds up. Rumors suggest a $20 to $50 price bump over standard Gen 5s, possibly more for models with upgraded triggers or performance slides. And if Glock packages these with multiple grip shells or optic-ready slides, expect MSRP to climb. But buyers will still line up, because every year Glock fans spend hundreds modifying their pistols just to get features that Gen 6 might offer straight from the factory. If you're saving $300 in aftermarket upgrades by sending $50 more up front, that's a win. So now the big question, who's Gen 6 really for? If your current Glock does its job, carry, home defense, duty use, you don't need to jump ship. Gen 5s are still solid. They'll still be supported, and holsters, mags, and spare parts aren't going anywhere. But if you've been holding out because Glock felt behind, this might be the one that wins you over. Direct mount optics, drop-in triggers, modular frame grips that actually serve a purpose, that's not just an update, that's evolution. And for some buyers, it's the Glock they've been waiting for since the P320 changed the game. Which brings us here. Guys, that's it for today. If you've ever doubted Glock would really shake things up, this might be their moment. Patents are real, the vanishing models aren't random, and the modular optics ready, possibly battery-powered Gen 6? It's not theory anymore, it's coming. Now, here's the question. Where do you stand? Would you trade your Gen 5 for a modular Glock 6? You trust swappable trigger packs? Would you carry a pistol with a battery in the frame, even if it's just for a light? Or are you one of the holdouts, clinging to the glorious simplicity of Gen 3 and muttering, if it ain't broke? Drop your answers below. I'll be reading all of them. And hey, if this breakdown helped you stay ahead of the rumor mill, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and tap that bell. We've got more real talk coming. No fluff, no fanboy hype, just facts and firearms. Stay sharp. See you in the next one.